Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to continue with chapter number 10, that is Introduction to Django from the subject Web Frameworks. So these are the contents from the chapter number 10, that is what is Django, Django with Python, Django and Python, Django MVT, how to get and install Django. In last session, we have seen about what is Django here, then how to get and install the Django. Then we have seen the features, history of Django, then popularity of Django, features, advantages of Django, then the installation process for Django with the Linux platform and for the Windows platform. Now in this session, we are going to continue with Django MVT. So here the MVT, that is Model View Template. It is a software design pattern. It is collection of three important components, that is model, view and template. It is a software design pattern and the collection of that three component model, that is model, view and template. So model helps to handle the database. It is a data access layer which handles the data. In MVT, model help us to handle the database, that it is a data access layer which handles the data from the database, and the template is a presentation layer. Presentation layer means it handles the user interface part completely. So using template we are going to interact with the user. Then the view is used to execute business logic and interact with the model to carry data and renders a template. So view is used for executing the business logic. Then although that Django follows the MVC pattern, but it maintains its own convention. So that control is handled by the framework itself. So there is no separate controller and the complete application is based on that MVT. That's why it is called as MVT application also. So there is no separate controller and the complete application for that Django MVT. Here you can see the graph of that Django MVT. Here you can see the user, then the Django controller here, then the URL, view, model, and the template. Here you can see the user request for a resource to the user sends a request to the resource for the from the Django controller. Here, the Django controller. Here you can see the Django works as a controller here. Then it will check that availability of the resources for from the URL. So it will check that availability of the resources from the URL, like it if URL maps, a view is called and that interact with the model and the template. Yeah, you can see that URL map to the view and it will check for the model and the template, and it will send the response to the user as a template. So here user sends a request to the Django. Here Django works as a controller. Then it will check that resources from the URL, from the view, for the model and template. It will send the template. Here template means this is the user interacting with the GUI, that is user interface here. And view is the business logic here. And model means the database access layer. This is the presentation layer, business logic, and this is the database access layer. So whenever user sends the request for any particular requirement, here Django works as a controller here. Here controller means it will control the flow of this requesting and the response here. Here you can see that whenever user send the request to the database, then from the URL it will check from the business logic, it will check for the database and for the template here, and it will send the response as a template through the Django controller to the user. Yeah, the Django responds back to the user and send a template as a response. The next point is Django model. Now we are going to see all these model, view and template one by one. First one is Django model. So in this model is a class which is used to contain essential fields and methods. The Django model means it is a class which is used to contain essential fields and the methods. So each model class maps to a single table in the database. Whenever we are going to create any model, that model means that class maps to a single table in the database. The Django model is a subclass of Django.db.models.model. It is a subclass of this Django.db.models.model. And each field of the model class represents a database field. Whenever we are going to create any model or that model class represents a database field. So each field of that model class is a database field. That is a column in the database. Means we are going to create a model means we are going to create a table in the database. Here Django provides us a database abstraction API. It provides a database abstraction API which allows us to create, retrieve, update and delete a record from the map table. That means it provides some APIs for the creating, retrieving, update and delete a record from the map table. So a model is defined in models.py file. This file can contain multiple models. That models.py file contains multiple models. Here you can see the example here. We are creating a model employee. Here now you can see one example for where that we are going to create a model employee which has two fields, first name and last name. Here you can see how to create a model. Here you can see from from Django.db import models. In this way we can create or we are going to import that models from that Django.db here. From Django.db import models. Then create a class employee and models.model. Here you can see we have seen that there are that Django model is a subclass of Django.db.models.model. Here models.model. Okay, so class employee inside the bracket models.model and the colon and the attributes here. First name is equals to models dot character field. Here that first name will be that name should be the character. Okay, yeah, so that's why models dot char field inside the bracket maximum length. Here we are going to set the maximum length for that first name. Similarly for the last name equals to models dot it is a character field, so that's why models dot char field inside the bracket max length is equals to 30. Here we are setting that maximum length for the first name and last name. So your first name and last name fields are specified as a class attributes. Class, that is employee class attributes. These are the attributes of this class. And each attributes map to a database column. These are the columns in the database. Then here this model will create a table into database. After creating this model, it will create a table in the database like here. Create table app name underscore employee. This app name, here you can see, this app name is the combination of it is a table name. It is a combination of app name and the model name. Here, model name is employee here. So that can be, we can change that for afterwards if necessary. So here, after creating that model, it will create a table into the database like here, create table app name underscore employee. This is the app name and this is the model name. And that table consists of ID, integer, not null, primary key. These are the constraints for that ID we are going to create. It will auto increment, auto created field is there. Then first name, for first name, here first name varchar 30, it should not be null, not null here, that's why. Then the last name varchar 30, we have set that max size, maximum length for that first name and last name 30 here. So it will create, after creating the model, it will create the table into the database like this. Then here registering or use that model. So after creating a model, that model is registered into the install app inside that settings.py file. So there is one file like settings.py in inside the install apps. So we have to register that like here you can see install apps is equals to here the app name we have given to this here. So this model is registered in the install app that inside the settings.py file. Okay, so install apps we have to write like that app name here. Then there are several model fields are there. So this Django model fields defined inside the model class are the column names. That model class can, here we have created one class here. So these are the this class model is that Django model is, we have seen one example for the employee. So these are the attributes or these are the column names for that model. So here these fields are name should be not be uh, like that reserve words. That field name should not be Python reserve words like clean, save, or delete. So Django provides various built-in field types. So we will see all these field types here. So there are a lot of field types are there. So first one is auto field. Here you can see that auto field. Then the class name is class and the field name like auto field and the options. So that it is an integer field that automatically increments. It is an integer field that automatically increments. The next one is big auto field. So representation is like class big auto field and the options. So it is a 64-bit integer field. So much like an auto field, except that it is guaranteed to fit numbers from here. You can see the range of that 64-bit integer here. Then big integer field. See the representation like class big integer field and the options. So it is also 64-bit integer field. So much like an integer field, except that it is guaranteed to feed the numbers from the range. Here you can see the range from -9 to here to plus here. You can see the range for that big integer field. Then the binary field. See the representation like class binary field and the options. So this is the binary field. It is a field to store the raw binary data. Then the Boolean field representation is like class Boolean field and the options. So it is a true false field. So default form we get for this field is a checkbox input. Then the character field for the date here. See the representation and it is a date. It is a date represented in Python by a date time dot date instance. Then the date time field. See the representation like class date time field and the options are like auto now is equals to false and auto now add is equals to false and the options. So it is a date represented in Python by a date time dot date instance. Then the decimal fields is there, duration field, email field, file field for uploading the file, float field for floating point number representation in the Python. Then image field, it inherits all attributes and methods from file field, but also validates that the uploaded object is a valid image. See the representation here like class image field, upload to, then height field, width, and the maximum length of that image. Then the integer field, null boolean field, positive integer field, small integer field, text field, and the time field. So these are the fields in the model, Django model fields. These are the Django model fields. Then now we are going to see one example for Django model fields. Here you can see that first name. First name is equals to models dot character field. We have seen that character field and we are setting that maximum length is equals to 50 for creating a varchar column. So after creating this, it will create one table and the table consisting the parameters like columns like first name, release date, numbers. So type of that name is like varchar, then date and the integer. So here for release date is equals to models dot date field for date field. Then number stars is equals to models dot integer field. It is an integer field here. So field options. What is the field option here? So here you can see the field option for the character field that we are going to set the maximum length. So here each field required some arguments. These are the fields. So here each field requires some arguments that are used to set column attributes. Like here you can see the character field requires maximum length to specify the varchar database. And some common arguments are available to all the field types. All are optional. Here you can see some field options with the explanation here. Null. If we provide that field option like null, so Django will store empty values as null in the database. Then blank option. So it is used to allow field to be blank. After using this, it will allow us to leave that field with the blank. Then the choices. An iterable of two tuples to use as a choice for this field like it is a list or the tuple. Then the default value for the field, this can be a value or a callable object. Help underscore text, here extra help text to be displayed with the form we get. It's useful for documentation even if your field is not used as a form on a form. Then the primary key option. So this field is primary key for the model. Then the unique option. This field must be unique throughout the table. If you set the value for something uh, like we have taken one constant, or you can say not constant. If that value is set like threshold value, it should be unique throughout the table. Then the Django model example. Now we are going to see one example for the student here. We are going to create one file that is models.py. Here you can see one class is created, that is model means we are going to create one class. After creating that class, it will create one database file. Here you can see class student models.model. See the representation, how we can write that Django model here. Then the first name is equals to models dot character field, and we are going to pass this option, like we are going to set the length 20 for the first name, like max length is equals to 20. Then for the last name is equals to models dot, it is also character field, and we are going to provide options that the setting length max length is equals to 30. Then the contact is equals to models dot integer field. So this is the integer field. Then email is equals to models dot email field for the email, and the maximum length is 50. Then the age is also integer field, so that's why age is equals to models dot integer field. So here after that we have to apply the migration by using the command like python 3 manage.py make migration my app. So it will create a table my app underscore student. The table structure, here you can see the structure of the table like here. It will contain the ID, then the first name. We have set the max length here 20 for the first name, then last name. For that we have set the length 30. Then contact, it is an integer field. Then the email field, we have set the length for that image field is 50. Then the age, it is also an integer field. Okay. So after creating this model, it will create the this database table here like my app underscore student. Okay. So yeah, you can we have seen that example for Django model here. We have created one model for the student. After creating that model, it will create a table here in this format. So okay, so that's it for today's session. We will stop here. In next session, we will see that remaining part, that is Django views and Django templates and the Django and Python. So in this session, we have seen about this Django MVT, that is model, view, and template. And we have seen about Django model and the example for the Django model and the model fields and field options. So that's it for today's session. We will stop here. Thank you.